Hello and welcome to our last video in our ongoing discussion of Spot It. And so the last video was a very nice conclusion to wrap things up, except you might have noticed that at the very beginning I pointed out that the actual Spot It deck has 55 cards, even though we have now proven that there's supposed to be 57 cards, which means that there's 2 cards missing. And I promised that we would find them. So to do that, we're going to make heavy use of the things that we have proven so far. Namely, the biggest thing is that we proved, and this was sort of going all the way back to the 3rd video, this was something that was very crucial to all of our development. Namely, we proved that if you take a 57-card Spot It deck, then it's full, in the sense we talked about in the last video, that every pair of symbols shows up on a card. So, what are we going to do in order to find our missing 2 cards? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a large spot on our floor, because this is going to take up a lot of space. And then we're going to pick 2 cards from the deck just at random. So I happen to choose these 2 cards. Note they share the baby bottle in common. And note we also proved previously that every symbol in a full Spot It deck is supposed to show up 8 total times. So you might want to make sure, does the baby bottle show up 8 times? Well, here are the other 6 baby bottle cards. Just like that. So, then indeed, the baby bottle does show up 8 times, so I don't have to think about that. But now, on each of these 2 cards, not these 6, but on each of these 2 cards that I chose, I might notice that there are 7 non-baby bottle symbols. And so, for example, on the first card there's an apple, and on the second card there's an exclamation point. And so, if you remember this condition that the Spot It deck is full, what does that tell me? Well, it tells me there has to be a card with an apple and an exclamation point. And so, you can find that card, namely, here it is. And so you'll see, hey, this is a card with an apple and an exclamation point. And really, I want to do that for every pair of symbols on these 2 cards. And so the way I'm going to do that is very systematically, I'm going to lay out a grid on the floor. And so what you'll see here is going across the bottom in the green Post-it notes, I have listed the 7 non-baby bottle symbols on the lower card. And going up the left on the orange Post-it notes, I have the 7 non-baby bottle symbols from the upper card. And so I've basically made my own set of coordinate axes, and I'm going to pluck each card from the remaining pieces into its spot where it covers each pair. So you'll see, for example, the apple bolt combo goes at the lower left. And so at this point in this picture, I have slotted in 8 of the cards, but I can keep going. And after I go through the entire deck, I get here. After all of that, I find these 2 empty spots, which have, if you want, the address exclamation point stop and dinosaur flower. And so those spots have the 2 missing cards. So I'm going to lay down Post-it notes of a 3rd color in those 2 spots, which I'm going to fill in with the symbols that are supposed to be on the missing cards. Now, the first thing you will notice is that, well, I know that this bottom one is supposed to have an exclamation point and a stop on it, so I'll put those there. And the top one is supposed to have a dinosaur and a flower on it, so I can put those there. But you might not immediately see how I can go ahead and figure out what all the other symbols that go on it are. Well, here is the secret. The secret lays in the 6 other baby bottle cards. Namely, every symbol shows up either, well, the baby bottle, which is sort of the origin, if you like, on the green Post-it notes, on the orange Post-it notes, or on these 6 other baby bottle cards. Because everything, remember, has to show up with the baby bottle. Now, likewise, if I look at, say, the exclamation point column, well, the exclamation point column has 6 of the exclamation point cards. The 7th exclamation point card is the one with the baby bottle, namely, it is the bottom one here. And so I have to have an exclamation point paired with every other symbol. So, in particular, after I look at the exclamation point here, I still have to have an exclamation point plus a stop sign plus each other symbol. Now, looking at the column there, I'll find out that each of these symbols has to show up next to an exclamation point. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the column, and I'm going to find each of the symbols on this card in the exclamation point column, other than the baby bottle. So I'll find the ladybug, the carrot, the scissors, the man, and so on. But what I'll notice in the exclamation point column is that, in fact, there is no ladybug in the exclamation point column. Likewise, there is no ladybug in the stop sign row. And what that means is that the ladybug never shows up with the exclamation point, and it never shows up with the stop sign. And so what does that mean? That means I'm missing the card with the ladybug and the exclamation point. And so that tells me the ladybug has to be on the card with the exclamation point. Likewise, if I continue on to this card, and I look at this one, and I look up and down the column, and you'll just have to believe me because I'm sure the pictures are much too small for you to see this, none of the cards in the exclamation point column have the skull and crossbones. Likewise, none of the ones in the stop sign row have the skull and crossbones. So I have to have the skull and crossbones on this missing card. And one at a time, I go through each of these 6 cards, and I get all of the symbols that go on that missing card. So this is the missing card there at exclamation point stop, at that symbol. I repeat the process for the dino flower one, and I get this combination. So together, these two form the 2 cards that are supposed to be in the deck, but aren't. And so if you just pick a random card from the deck, it will have something in common with each of these. And if you want to check, actually, maybe the trickiest thing is that these 2 cards have a common symbol with each other, and you'll see they do. In fact, they both have the snowman on them. All right, so this completes our discussion of the Spotted deck. We now know what 2 cards we were deprived of when we got our printed deck, namely it was these 2, and hence we are done. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion, and I hope you have enjoyed this course overall. If you happen to have watched this video not because you took my combinatorics class, I'd love to hear from you in the comments or whatever, so let me know if you've made it all the way this far. But anyway, have a wonderful summer. And until next time, be well.